Motorcycles are one of those things where new and modern doesn't always mean better. Riding a motorcycle is almost always an emotive choice as much as anything else, and as such, we tend to cling on to the good old days. Motorcycle manufacturers know this, so they have done a wonderful job of making great retro motorcycles that perform like modern bikes and are reliable like them too. In this video, let's explore the top modern retro motorcycles that are packed full of up-to-date tech and vintage looks that are available to purchase in 2023. There is no more retro a motorcycle than this brand spanking new R18. The new R18 harkens back to the very roots of BMW Motorrad and the 1923 R23, from which the R18 gets its basic shape, flat twin-engine configuration and even shaft drive. But it's all modernized. That 1802cc flat twin puts out 91 horsepower and 116 pound-feet of torque, more than enough to move the bike's 761 pounds of curb weight. When you first get on it and ride off, you'll feel every one of its 761 pounds. So if you test ride one at your BMW dealership, keep that in mind. The big flat twin really shakes things up when it starts, but also when you're leaned over and powering out of a corner. True BMW history buffs will appreciate the R18 because of all the cues it takes from the R23 of almost a century ago. Those not familiar with the marque's history will still like it just because it's so cool. The Kawasaki W800 is a tribute to the 1966 W1, which was itself a copy of British bikes of the day, when everyone was trying to look like their favorite real racer. The 1966 W1 is the motorcycle that has come to represent the ethos of Kawasaki's quest for speed. It had the largest displacement and was the most powerful Japanese motorcycle of its time. And it inspired the birth of the legendary machines such as the Z1 and Ninja H2 sport bikes. What you get in this modern retro bike is yet another strong entry into the retro cafe racer category and a worthy entrant too. With a 773cc vertical twin employing an assist and slipper clutch for smoother transitions between gears and throttle positions. The handlebars are positioned high enough up that you get a more upright posture than a sport bike while still forcing a slight lean forward in the style of the original cafe racers. It's still easier on your back and neck than some sportier bikes on long rides. Yamaha made quite the impression in the 1970s with their sellout XT500. And 50 years later the XR700X Tribute is set to take over. On the inside, through a responsive liquid-cooled engine, it rides like you'd want any modern bike to, but on the outside, it's covered with all those retro goodies that caused the XT to become one of the most popular Yamaha models ever made. Stepping into its ancestors' iconic shoes, the XR700 pays tribute and lives up to its legendary status through retro-inspired colors and graphics, Scrambler equipment and off-road components including handlebars and footrests. It's dripping with rugged good looks, ageless style and modernity, and we just can't get enough of it. A list of the best retro motorcycles wouldn't be complete without the Moto Guzzi V7. The Guzzi literally makes it on looks and heritage alone. Whereas many of the bikes on the list are essentially modern bikes trying to pass as retro, the Moto Guzzi V7 is a real deal. Sure, the design has been tweaked and enhanced incrementally over the years, but it really feels like a genuine old bike. It's a surprisingly practical choice with its shaft-driven design. The longitudinally mounted V-twin engine makes a lot of sense and it looks amazing. Both air-cooled cylinders are positioned outboard nice in the airflow, receiving equal cooling. And for the home mechanics, you can work on much of the engine without having to remove the seat or the fuel tank, which is a great advantage of the Guzzis. The Moto Guzzi V7 is exactly what a motorcycle is supposed to look and feel like. When we're talking retro motorcycles, no list would be complete without the great Royal Enfield name. The iconic British brand is now the biggest name in the Indian motorcycling scene and definitely picks up the award for the most visually authentic retro bike. Each one rolls off the production line looking like it had been made in garage since the 60s. The Royal Enfield Continental GT650 makes the list on the ground that it offers a great little cafe racer experience for such an affordable price. Everyone would love a retro cafe racer, but they are normally a premium product and often compromised enough for you to not want one as your only bike. There's also the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650 if you prefer a more upright riding experience. It's one thing to resurrect an iconic motorcycle, but when that motorcycle is widely regarded as the original modern classic, then you're not simply resurrecting an icon. You're taking responsibility for a legacy stretching 50 years. I am of course referring to the new generation BSA Gold Star. Once upon a time, the must-have motorcycle of its era, the BSA Gold Star returns today as a well-judged, surprisingly authentic tribute to a legend of British motorcycling. No-nonsense nostalgia is the theme here, with classic legends, the new owners, adopting a pure and simple approach when developing the Gold Star 650. So while it's not sharp, it is enjoyably easy to ride. While it's not brimming with gizmos, it's not complicated either. And while it's not quick, its sweet-sounding single-cylinder engine bristles with character. If the original BSA Gold Star changed the future, then the new BSA Gold Star 650 is a satisfying trip back down memory lane. Based on looks alone, it doesn't get more retro than this. But even when we put looks aside for a second, Triumph's history has made them leaders in the British retro scene, and their Bonville T120 is proof of that, and that is why they're stealing the #1 spot. Over 70 years ago, they created a distinct silhouette we know as the Bonville that has, and continues, to shape the market. For modern-day use, the timeless character and iconic style has been captured perfectly through an up-to-date chrome tank, grab rail, wheel rims and pea-shooter silencer, accompanied by a 1200cc liquid-cooled parallel twin engine, heated grips and ABS all is standard. The T120 is a classic-looking bike that takes all the good bits from Triumph's earlier 1950s and 1960s roadsters and adds a modern-day, yet still authentic twist. In my opinion, it's the best retro looker on the list that is not only good value but is also a complete all-rounder, and that's why it takes the crown. As long as sales keep booming and manufacturers keep up with demand, then this timeless design will never go out of fashion. What do you think of my picks? I know there are definitely a lot more retro motorcycles out there that would make a great everyday bike. Let me know what is your favorite retro motorcycle of 2023 in the comments below. If you liked this video, then smash that like button, and if you'd like to catch more motorcycle news and content like this, consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one.